Good evening. My name is Mel Horan, and I work with the home office of Northbridge Senior Living, and I am thrilled that you all have been able to join us this evening. And on behalf of our owners, Wendy Nowakowski and Jim Coughlin, we thank you for taking the time out of your very busy schedules to join us for this powerful and inspiring event. If you have questions in a little bit, we've just put up on the screen. You can, go to the chat button. We will be at the end of our presentation, our event. We will be definitely answering your questions. Okay, so we've got you a little tutorial right up on the screen on how to do that. Well, just about 1 year ago, the world as we knew it changed. Most of us had no idea at the time how much and how long it would last. But here we are a year later, survivors of a pandemic. And for those of you who has lost anyone dear to you as a result of COVID, we offer our deepest condolences. As a company, Northbridge Senior Living has seen firsthand how many heroes have helped us through the last year, caring for our residents, themselves, and going above and beyond in extraordinary times to keep our residents safe and provide joy and laughter during very tough times. To many of you on this Zoom event, you too are heroes, working in the healthcare field or caring for a senior loved one and putting your needs aside, feeling exhausted and wondering when this will all end. For all you do and all you have done, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We wanted to thank you in a way that was inspiring and hopeful, and that is where our guest Roseann comes in. It is with great pleasure and admiration that I introduce our speaker for this evening. And today, as a Boston Marathon survivor and amputee, Roseann is making great strides in changing the lives of others. As one of the top motivational speakers and more recently a published author of Perfect Strangers, Roseann combines her powerful personal story and perseverance with her professional corporate background and offers lessons learned throughout her challenging comeback journey as insightful, motivational tools that everyone can use to discover their own unstoppable strength. Roseann's mantra, "Life is only as positive as you make it," serves as the foundation for redefining one's own mindset in achieving every personal and professional goal, and ultimately living a happier, richer, and more fulfilling life. So Roseann, thank you so much for joining us this evening. And I'd just like to say personally, I've just loved getting to know you and look forward myself to hearing you speak tonight.
Thank you, Mel. I really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you to you and Sharon and all that work at Northbridge Companies, and welcome everybody out there in Cyberland. I personally have not gotten very used to this situation through Zoom, so I apologize if I'm a little awkward, but I guess it's the way of the world these days, and that's something that I guess we all have to learn with and live with and learn, which is change. So what I'm going to do over the next few minutes is tell my story, explain what happened to me and why I'm here talking with you, and also explain how my life changed. And even though it's a little bit of a different scenario, being part of the Boston Marathon bombing and having to go through what you're going through on the COVID side of things, I think there is a common thread in there, and that is basically dealing with change and making choices and how to get through these tough times. So without further ado, I'm going to continue my story and tell you a little bit about myself. At the end, Mel and I are going to have some question and answers. And then if any of you feel that you have questions that you'd like to ask, feel free. I am literally, and I make all puns throughout my thing, but I am literally an open book. So no questions are off limit, as I told Mel. It's my story, and I love sharing it. And hopefully through this, I can help some of you as well. So let's see. Not sure if many of you know where Drake it is. Even if you're from Massachusetts, you probably don't know where it is or may not know where it is. If we were in a room together, I would ask if you did know it. I certainly didn't know it. When I was in the second grade, we were living in Lowell, Massachusetts, and my parents came to us and said, "Oh, we're moving from Lowell to Drake it." And I thought we were actually moving to California. So I was sadly mistaken when I realized that we were moving from one town to the town, from one city to the town right next door. But it's where I grew up, small town America, I guess, your normal childhood in a sense. I had parents, I have a sister, and we had a dog, we had cats, and it was a typical life. This is actually a house that I grew up in. When we first moved there, it was in the 70s, and it was just the house part. And over the course of time, my parents added on, and the house color has completely changed, and the trees and the bushes have fully matured where you basically can't see the house anymore. But it's where I grew up. Part of the life lessons that I learned there, and uh, the family values is what I gained from living in this house with my parents and my sister. One of the things that I was taught growing up was hard work. And as much as I begged my dad to get a snowblower, we were made to shovel the driveway. And I remember one time he had asked me, or had said, no to the snowblower. And I said, why? And he said, because, doing this work gives you good character. And I told him I had enough character already and I didn't need to be doing this. But those chores didn't change. And I think that's something that I look back at and really value, because I don't know where I would be if I didn't know about chores and responsibility and hard work and taking responsibility for something in life. But that's what we were taught growing up here in Drake it. Now, in going there, I knew at some point I wanted to move out of this little town, and I was hoping that I would use college for a stepping stone. But my parents knew that I was a social child, and that, let's put it this way, I was an okay student. I wasn't the best student. I got through, but they wanted to make sure that if I was going to go to college, that they could really keep tabs on me. So without being able to go far away, they helped me get into the University of Massachusetts Lowell, back to that city that we had moved from. So, I spent 4.5 years there. They weren't incorrect about my social personality. That's why it took me the extra half semester to eventually graduate. But here is where I made a lot of my lifelong friends, people that I may have gone to high school with that went there, or made new friends. And I learned some responsibilities here at the University of Massachusetts Lowell. Being a student there at the time, they weren't technically recognized by the college because there had been some issues, but I had joined a sorority and made some really good friends. Funny enough, that my sister and I, who are completely different personalities, I'm social, she's studious, loved to read. She loved to read growing up, and I was lucky if I could get past the first paragraph before falling asleep. But we went to University of Massachusetts together and joined the sorority at the same time, which, when I told her I was joining and she said she wanted to, I was completely shocked by this because I didn't imagine it being her cup of tea, but she joined along with me. And through that process, we even became closer. And I also became, I was treasurer at one point, and then I became the president of the sorority. So, it taught me leadership. It taught me how to speak in public in a sense, although I don't consider that speaking in public, or I shouldn't say it taught me how to, but it gave me a little bit of background to know that if I needed to at some point, I could maybe do it. But this is where I learned those different scenarios. Now, growing up, being from Massachusetts in that small town and going to the city of Lowell, we would take trips into Boston as a family or friends. And this is where I started to really love the city and do all of the fun things that people do in Boston, whether it was going to the North End for pizza or some of those amazing cannolis, or going to Faneuil Hall and taking in the atmosphere, especially around the holidays where they have all the lights up and it's beautiful, to going into the Boston Marathon. So a lot of times I would go with my sister, my dad, we would go into Fenway, we would watch the Red Sox game. And way back then, it was timed for the Red Sox game to end for the regular runners coming into the city. So as soon as the game was over, we would make our way to Kenmore Square and watch these runners. Now, I'm not sure who knows this or who doesn't know these facts, but the Boston Marathon is one of the most historic marathons in the world. It has about anywhere from 24,000 to 30,000 runners on a regular year. And it draws about another million or so spectators that line the whole course. So over the course of time, I was one of those spectators, whether it was with my dad or as I got older with my girlfriends to go in and watch. Now, I'm not a runner, but I've been known to participate in some road races purely for health and health benefits, and more so eating and drinking benefits. It was a way that I knew to stay healthy. And a lot of times I was able to coordinate that running activity with the social aspect of it because I had some friends that were runners. They turned me on to some different road races. Especially there's a series in Cambridge during the summertime called Let's Run and Have Some Fun, which is all I needed to hear, and would sign myself up. Because at the end of running, it was about 4 miles. At the end of that, this particular series of road races, they would have a barbecue, they would have a band, they would have beer. And of course, I would be able to socialize with my friends and not really feel guilty about having some barbecue and some cocktails because I just run 4 miles. So in my mind, this activity was something for me to stay healthy. It was also convenient because I could basically take my running shoes and just go out the door and run to get my exercise in if I knew I was going out that night or that weekend or something along those lines. So they talked me into doing these road races, and it was something I was getting out of it both physically and mentally. And it was also time where I could decompress and just think to myself and have my songs on and go at my own pace and just enjoy the scenery as I was running, whether it was in the city of Boston or in the Falmouth Road Race or along the river in Cambridge. It was something that kind of I was able to decompress to. Now, on April 14th, 2013, the Boston Athletic Association has a road race that they have every year. It's a 5K. And I was able to convince 3 of my girlfriends that particular year to run this road race with me. It was the first road race that 2 of my girlfriends had ever run, and they loved it so much that they have never run again. It's the first time and the last time that they've put on the running sneakers to do something like this. But we were so happy that they did it that we spent the afternoon, the 4 of us, celebrating and enjoying the time in the beautiful spring air in the Back Bay, doing some shopping and having brunch. And I was just so proud of them for doing it. But I had a little motive behind it in the back of my mind. Even all of those years that I had gone to the marathon and celebrated with my family when I was younger, or even more so celebration as an adult with my girlfriends, that I would think that day as, cheering and the energy of all the visitors and the runners and the energy that comes into the city, basically the week leading up to the marathon, that maybe someday I would run the marathon as well. As a matter of fact, my friend in this photo to my left, my friend Sabrina and I on this particular day had said to each other that we would start training for the 2014 marathon. I was able to convince her by crossing over that iconic Boston Marathon finish line with this 5K that it would be awesome to do it, and that we would lead on each other to take on this task of running the marathon. at the end of the day, we basically said our goodbyes, and knowing that we would see each other Monday, April 15th, 2013. It was Patriots Day. It was Boston Marathon Day. I'm not sure if you all know, but it's all held on that particular day. It's the third Monday in April every year, marking the beginning of the, we mark it to celebrate the beginning of the American Revolutionary War. In Massachusetts, we also mark it by celebrating spring break for us, or April vacation for elementary school and high school kids. So I always looked forward to that day as a child into my adulthood, because it meant so much to me, between vacation and spring weather and just it being a fun time of year growing up around here. Now, we said our goodbyes, we all went home, and woke up the next morning, same way as I always did, picking out one outfit, after figuring out what outfit to wear to spend the day in the city, doing my own kind of marathon on Marathon Monday, which it started out at the Red Sox game, as it usually did. This photo is the last photo that I took on that particular Monday. Um, it doesn't do it really justice, but the sky was crystal clear blue. It was a bit chilly. It was a beautiful spring morning. As you can tell, we had amazing seats. We were 5 rows behind home plate. One of my girlfriend's company had the tickets and she couldn't go. So she reached out and said, do you want them? And how do you say no to something like this? So myself and my friend Sabrina ended up going to the game. And not every Marathon Monday, but a lot of them, we had friends that would run. And if we did, we would follow them on the app, on the Boston Athletic Association app, and it would tell us kind of where they are along the route. Now, it was about the 7th inning that we had got notification that our friend Jen, who was running, was about an hour or so outside of the city. At this point, we knew we would have to leave to make our way over to Boylston Street, where we would go every year, year after year, basically to the same location. Our group of friends, acquaintances, our age range, even younger and older people would kind of meet at this one particular location. And if you had friends running, this is where you would tell them to watch for you. So our friend Jen would be looking for us out in front of the restaurant Forum. And we left at the 7th inning, made our way over to there, and we got to Forum probably about 20 minutes before she was going to be making her way down Boylston Street to the finish line. So we decided, once we got there, we did a quick walk around, didn't see any of our friends that we were going to be meeting up with, basically stepped outside to the barricade that separates the spectators and the runners. Now, I have this picture in here so that you can see the proximity of to where I am to whom I call White Hat. But this picture gives you a little bit of a better idea of the crowd. And initially stepping out to that barricade, I don't believe that he was there, but he is there, and he's already placed the backpack down. We had 3 other friends that had shown up. I personally had separated myself from the group of friends. My friend Sabrina is just to the right of the mailbox. You can see her with the dark hair. To her right is our friend Megan. And then 2 other friends were on their way at this particular point. But stepping out to this railing that separates us, from the runners, Jen would know to look for us there. And so we were there cheering people on. It was loud. It was crazy. Typical Marathon Monday. You couldn't hear yourself think. Megan came over, my girlfriend Megan came over and asked if she could sneak in between myself and the guy right next to the mailbox. And basically he said no, because he was waiting for his wife and she needed to watch for him there. So Megan went back to the other side, and it was within a few minutes at this point in time that I had no idea, what role that mailbox would play in saving my friends' lives. I had no idea that for the first time in the Boston Marathon history, the entire race would be shut down. Now, COVID makes it the second time in history that it didn't even exist or happen. And little did I realize how familiar I would become with that white hat. Um, and then lastly, I had no idea how my world was about to change. Basically, how we had no idea when COVID came and basically shut our lives down all around. You know, it's really crazy because when you wake up in the morning, you don't know that something can happen that is going to stop your life, to change your life, to force you to make changes. But within those minutes of Megan leaving and going back to that other side and all of this happening, there was a first explosion that was down to the left. The crowd went eerily silent, and you could hear a pin drop. And at that point, I had so many thoughts going through my mind because of being there in the past. Within those couple of seconds, I decided I had a choice, and that choice was to turn and run, in which I did. And I took two quick steps to my right and saw two flashes of white light, and then everything went completely blank. Now, within these moments of it going blank and coming to, these are the moments that, you know, really resonate with me in regards to life and choices and changes. Because when I came to, I had a choice of acting crazy, hysterical with all the chaos that was going on, or I could remain calm and breathe through the situation. And that's basically what I did. I knew that I wasn't going to be able to get help if I was hysterically crazy. I knew I had to focus on breathing to stay alive, to stay conscious. And that's what I did. And as I did that, I was able to get help and get myself and they got me to the hospital. Now, here I am 3 days later, three amputations up my right leg later. And I put this picture in here because, not because I look good, because I know I don't. As a matter of fact, I had singed hair and dirt in my nails and I was a mess, but I have it in here because I'm smiling. And this is how I made the choice to approach my recovery. I knew that I would need to move forward. I knew that I would need to focus on getting myself out of the hospital, getting to rehab, and getting healthy again. Um, it took some time. I knew that I had had a good life and I needed to figure out how to get back to that good life. And a lot of it has to do with the moments of people coming and helping me and, you know, really stepping up. My sister, my family, so many friends, to the point that my mother told the hospital that if I had a friend show up, they were coming into the IC unit. She didn't care how many, when, whatever, they were getting in there and they were coming to see me. So, you know, I like to put this picture in here because it just shows that I had to choose between a positive attitude and a negative attitude. And I think if you have a negative attitude, I think it can cause obstacles and really stop you from moving forward. So I knew I needed to keep moving forward with what was going on. Now, I didn't have the support all on my own. We had visitors, people, obviously, and this is not a political statement by any means. He just happened to be president at the time. But President Obama came to visit, and we had so many other people. You know, we didn't have all the same people. Some people had Michelle Obama. I was able to meet Rob Gronkowski and Robert Kraft and just so many other people. But I have it in here because it was support from so many people, not just family, not just friends, but complete strangers from all around the world that came to offer us this support and help us out. And some of the real people that I like to acknowledge are a lot of our veterans, Marine, Army, Navy, Air Force, all different realms of our veterans came to help and let us know that we were going to be okay, because none of us really knew how to deal with what was going on at this point. I mean, I've never been an amputee before. I don't have amputee friends or family members. So I didn't know I was going to be okay. And to have these people come and support us, it was a huge scenario. Now, with this, I also had those supporters within the hospital, Whether in that last picture, a nurse was there, this woman, Beth, who was there, who my family grabbed in to come into the photo because she had become like family, as did my physical therapists that are in this photo. And the three, my three first responders that I consider family to me. Shore Salter, standing on, if you're looking at the photo, standing on my left. He was a college student who made the choice to run in and help. Shayna Catone, who's a Boston police officer, on my right. She made the choice to help Shores when he was holding the tourniquet. And then next to Shayna is Mike Materia, Boston firefighter. And it was his firehouse that initially started helping me get me boarded onto a backboard and into transportation to get to the hospital. Now, these people are the ones that lifted me up. They're the ones that helped me stay positive. And if I was having a bad day, they'd let me do physical therapy in my room. Bring me something good to eat if that was going to make my day, which at this point I was eating a lot of whoopie pies. So that made me happy. But you don't know what's going to come out of these relationships that you build through this time. And I think that is something that I want to focus on too, because you need to accept the support that's out there, whether they're people you know or not. And you never know what's going to happen, because I would never have met these 5 people and not have them in my life now if this had never happened. And I can't tell you how many times I say I'm fortunate versus unfortunate. I was fortunate of where I was standing when it happened, because I could have been on an outer perimeter of that explosion and I could have been more severely injured. I'm one of the less severely injured, even though I lost my leg. I'm less injured than a lot of the survivors from that particular day. So fortunate that I was taken to Mass General Hospital. So fortunate that I had Dr. King do my amputation, someone who I consider also a friend and family member, as well as all the other doctors and nurses and the first responders. I mean, the list of people that I've gained in my life have become, it's unending. And it's just, I've been so fortunate through all of this. And I think it's something that you have to think about. I've never said to myself, what if? I've never said, what if I didn't go that day? And honestly, I'm thankful that they did it that particular day and not like 4th of July as they had supposedly intended to do it. So, I would not have been there 4th of July and this would never have happened, but there would have been a lot more injured. There would have been a lot more children. There would have been a lot more deaths. It would have been made more chaos. So, I have to think of the positive side of this, of what has happened. And there's just so many that I could keep going on. And even more so, and again, not knowing, in some situations, even the survivors that you meet that have become part of your life, family and friends and the support group, there's one survivor that I was friends with before, Heather Abbott. She lost her leg as well that particular day. We weren't together. We knew we would see each other because it was the same crowd that we run in, as I mentioned, that, would be there. So you knew you would see these people. But now, there are 17 amputees, and out of those 7 amputees, I would say there are definitely 12 of us that are tightly connected, or maybe even more than that. There's probably 15 of us that are tightly connected. And then there's other ones that you find out along the way and how they're doing or whatever. And I need them as much as they need me. We have learned so much from each other going through this. If someone has a blister, how do you deal with it when you get a blister? If your leg isn't fitting right, what do you do to fix that? What shoes do you find that work? These are all things that you wouldn't know unless you were an amputee, and you wouldn't even know to ask unless someone tells you. So we had these organizations that came to meet us and tell us and share their experiences and bring us all together as a group. And then over time, we've just grown and grown and grown in friendship. And it's just really something that's crazy. Now, aside from that, and meeting these other people, you don't know what's going to happen when you have these first responders and you get to know them so well. And sometimes what happens is you might fall in love and get married to one of your first responders, which I know, Mel, you were going to probably mention in our Q&A and talking, but this is just one of my favorite pictures. And it just um, brings so much emotion to me right now. It was such a special day, and he's just such a special person. But I married the firefighter, Mike Materi, who helped me that day. And we've got two awesome dogs. And uh, I have, as he says, I have two cats. So we've got two dogs, two cats, and the two of us. And it's just something that you don't know what's going to happen out of this crazy situation. And I think that goes the same with COVID. You don't know how things are going to change and how your world is going to change. And you have to find the good that is in that change as much as you possibly can. Now, uh, you know, the other thing that has happened for me is I've made a career change, and that career change is, as they say, I'm an author, which I don't really consider myself an author because it was just telling a story and then someone put it to paper for me. But between being an author, doing the public speaking, I also do peer mentoring and help other amputees figure out how life is going to be going forward. We had so many people that came, that stepped up, because it was such a big media news story, that they were all coming out of the woodwork and offering to help us. And with COVID, I, it's one of those things that I know COVID is a big news story, but I don't think that we have the background to be there to help unless you've experienced it. And what you're experiencing now going through this, whether you work in the industry or you're, taking care of a loved one, it's something that we all need to teach each other on how to, or share information on how you're getting through it, or how you found ways to find the positive, how to make difficult choices, weigh the pros and cons, and decide what risk is bigger or better, or not as much of a risk to take, and to get through this time. And what I found is going through and doing these peer visits, sharing small, simple facts, ideas, just talking to them, and hoping that they can see that life can get back to normal after a period of time. Sometimes it might happen sooner, sometimes it might happen later, but eventually it can. And like this one woman I came to meet, I walked in the room, and her first expression, her first thing she said to me was that, oh my God, I can wear skinny jeans and boots again. And it was like, yes, if you find the right boots that zip up, because you can't slide a foot in unless it has a zipper on it. These are things that, like, you don't think of. And I think as we go through this uncharted time with COVID, that there are things that we are learning that we can share with people as this virus continues to move forward. And I'm hopeful that we're seeing things change now, especially in the last few months, where the last few weeks where numbers have gone down. You know, these choices that we make to do these things, whether to be a peer mentor or to just take care of loved ones, they're tough choices. They're tough choices that we face. And you are the only one that will know that these are the right choices for you and for your family, or for you and the job that you take on. And you just have to decide within yourself to do that, and don't beat yourself up over it, because there are so many things in life that are way more stressful that we need to focus on. Now, I'm going to make a little light joke, in the sense of my biggest choices these days are to decide which leg I'm going to wear. Now, uh, my challenges are, I need different legs for different activities. The first one on the left is my walking leg. I have a dress up leg. I have a bike leg. I have a blade for running. And these are my legs. These are the choices that I have. Now, I don't like the dress up leg. It's too heavy. So I very rarely wear it, if at all. The bike leg I do wear at times, but sometimes it falls off while I'm on the bike. And then the running leg, the cheetah print on the upper part does not make me go faster. So until we figure out how to make me go faster with it, I probably won't be putting it on again anytime soon. And then I have my trusty crutches that I use every night to go to bed, to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. So these are choices. And who knew I would have to make these choices? Another choice is if I'm going on vacation and I want to run or bike. Can you imagine how heavy my carry-on is at this point in time? And one thing that I keep saying that I'm going to do is that I'm going to put these all in, and this is only as a joke, but put them in a bag as my carry-on when Mike and I are going on a vacation, and see what his face looks like when he sees that, because he knows he'll have to carry that heavy bag since they all weigh about 10 pounds. But these are the choices that we have, and some of them are fun, some of them aren't. But I think what we need to do is we need to find, when we're in these situations, that if you think to yourself, what are my choices? And is this it is what it is situation? Or is it a situation that I can make a choice that's going to change the situation? You know, when that bomb went off, as I said, I had the choice to get crazy and exert energy and pass out and then probably die, or remain as calm as I could and stay alive. So if you can, in those moments, ask yourself, is what it is? Because I knew my leg wasn't going to grow back either. So it is what it is. I lost my leg. I stayed calm. Made sure I stayed alive as much as I could. Or is it a choice that, you make and it goes another way? But remember to stop and ask yourself, what are my choices? But the most important thing to remember is that this journey of life that we go through, this journey of life is not a sprint, but is really, truly, ultimately a marathon. So when you make your way into the world, make sure you just think, what are my choices? And again, thank you for having me, Mel.
Oh, okay. No, I just need to take my deep breath because your story is pretty remarkable. I agree with you. I think that the first leg is definitely the best. I think that the dress one, I think you're sexier than that. So I think so I agree with you. But Roseann, first and foremost, thank you for sharing your story with us. And those pictures just resonate so much. I had told you when we first met that I took the exact same path you did that day, although my path ended differently. I was at the Red Sox game. Uh,
Choices,
Choices. My husband
choices.
and I went and watched the marathon. I knew somebody that was running in it. And I got chills throughout all those pictures. But thank you. And I do have a couple of questions. And this
Okay.
is definitely time for those of you to, ask us those questions. And I'll be watching the chat and I will incorporate those. But I do have some myself, just in thinking, obviously, everybody's story is different. And you just said it, everybody's journey is different. And during this and challenging times, you have said so beautifully and eloquently, Roseann, you make your choices. And COVID, my gosh, this past year, particularly for those folks that are on this Zoom webinar tonight, who are the caregivers out there, whether it be in rehabs or hospitals, or they are adult children caring for their senior parent. They, I call them the doers, and
Yep.
it's not easy for us as doers and those of us that kind of think we are so independent, we don't want to ask for help. What advice would you give those doers to accept or ask for help? And through difficult and challenging times, to admit when you're exhausted or when you feel beat up because you're sick of what's going on in COVID. What advice might you have for them?
God, it is such a tough time, it's It's awful. And, I personally considered myself a doer. I was independent before everything happened. And, you know, uh, again, I consider myself independent where some people consider me stubborn, I guess. But, it's really independent. And I think with the doers, it was my hardest lesson I think I had to learn to let things go. There was a point where my sister came in with my checkbook and she's like, all right, tell me what bills you have to pay. And to let her kind of take over that was hard. It was definitely hard. And you know, I think we all have to take a step back and realize that you're not losing any dignity by allowing someone to help you. They want to help you. They're offering to help. And sometimes some people don't even know, some people say, "Oh, can I help you?" But you don't even know what you need help with. And I can tell you that I didn't know what I needed help with until people started doing it for me. And so just allow people to help you. If you know there's a way that they can help you, suggest it. Um, I I had a girlfriend who didn't even ask that when I was getting out of the hospital or rehab, it was a month later, she had set up a website and had, for a full month, a different person staying with me at night and had them like either do takeout or cook or bring something. And it wasn't something I had control over. She just did it. Um, and looking back at the time, I was like, oh, I don't need anybody to stay with me or whatever. But honestly, it was so helpful for so many reasons. To help me clean, to help me do laundry, to help me feed myself, to help me get around, to help me go to appointments. And, you know, it, it was hard to let go, but then it felt good letting go. And I didn't have that pressure. Like we all carry that pressure of, I got to do it, I've got to do it, I've got to do it. And if you can take one of those off, you're going to be able to do other things that you really do need to do. So it's human nature for us to want to do. I think it's also human nature for us to need people. And it's okay to accept it. And it's also okay to offer it or to just do. And um, get rid of the ego or whatever it may be, and just allow and let go of that control.
Great advice, Roseann.
Oh, one other thing, when people ask to help, I had a girlfriend, and she will tell me to this day, she goes, Roseann, I was helping you because she did so much for me, but she was also helping herself because she was struggling with what had happened because she was supposed to be there and she wasn't. And, this happened to me and not to her, and that whole survivor guilt thing. And it was helping her, helping me.
Yeah, that's great. And people, we do want to help people. That's who we are. A lot of people do want to help. It makes
Especially in
them
your
feel good.
industry.
Yes,
Especially in your industry. I mean, that's what
exactly.
you all do. Caretakers, whether you're in a hospital or rehab, I mean, you take care of people. That's
Right.
it, you
Exactly.
know?
So definitely some questions. I'm going to put mine to the side for a second.
Okay.
Well, first, I want to tell you that there is a fellow Drake Townie
Oh,
uh, here, Carrie. So hello, Carrie, and
hi,
thank you
Carrie.
for joining. So that's fun.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, Christine, thought your wedding picture was absolutely beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
But I also, there's one here that I'm going to read off from Marcy. How were you able to think so clearly during a disaster? I am not sure if I could remain calm and breathe. You have so much gratitude, and we can feel that. Thank you for your strength and for sharing your story. And I'm going to cry. So,
I am too, and I don't normally cry like through this. Maybe it's because I haven't done this in for so long, in this type of aspect. But if you had told me, number one, if you told me the day before that this was going to happen to me, I'd be like, you're nuts, and I will die. I will pass out. I am the biggest baby. I pass out at a paper cut. I can't even tell you, like, I'm the worst patient. I've gone and seen kids. I'd have to give blood, and I see a 5-year-old walk out, no problem. And here I am, humming and moving, and whatever. So we don't know what's in us until we're in that position. And that is really the only thing I can really say about it. And, I kind of thought it was like fake or like, I don't know. But when you saw different things around you, then you knew it wasn't fake. And you just knew that you had to take control. Like, I, I think a lot of us did that particular day. And, I had seen some blood coming out of my knee or where my knee was or whatever. I mean, my leg was still there, I guess. I didn't see it, but, and that was the other thing is I knew how much, I guess I knew myself in the sense of knowing that I'm such a baby that I kept my eyes closed as much as I can. So I didn't really see a lot of the devastation that was around me, thank God. So, um, yeah, you won't know until you're put in that position, unfortunately, and I hope no one ever is.
Right. Although I believe in inner strength, and clearly, Roseann, you have remarkable inner strength, which is, I think,
Because I
whatever.
made It was because I was made to shovel driveway
I
in
think
the
so.
winter and stack wood and all that other stuff, cut the lawn. Although it was a ride-on lawn mower, but we had to do the
Oh,
chores. We had no boys in the family, just me and my sister. So stack wood, mow lawn, shovel. Growing up in Drake in New England in the snow, I guess you become somewhat hardy somehow.
right. And another question from Leah is: did people who were worried about you make you worry about yourself? And what would you say to them?
Say that one more time.
Did people who were worried about you
Yes.
make you
Make me
worry about yourself? And what would you say to them?
you know, I can't say that they made me worry about myself. I think that I was confused. So I don't think it's a normal situation, number one. But number two, I was confused of what really kind of happened. So, I could see actually in both my parents' faces that they were worried about me. But I think because I had so much support through family and friends that they realized that they didn't have to worry about me so much. Um, Coincidentally, at the same time, so my parents have divorced. My mom still lives in that house, actually, that I showed you the picture, but my parents divorced in my late teenage years. I think they finally got divorced maybe 19 or 20. And and both have significant others for many years. It's the same person. And my dad was dealing with my grandmother being sick and his girlfriend having health issues, and then this happened to me. So I could see on his face that he was exhausted, he was worried, they didn't know. But those support people that came in, those the military Semper Fi group that came in, and different agencies, Challenge Athletes Foundation, all of them came in, plus all of my friends and family took the pressure off of them and kind of, I think, took the pressure off of me. So I was never alone in my hospital room until it was time to go to bed. And I think that was a huge help. Now, I know with COVID, with all of the the way that it's contracted and how easily people can get it, I know that's difficult at this point in time. But maybe there's going to be a time where loved ones can have family members around more, and more family members than limiting it to one person or something along those lines, because I really believe that it helped me and it helped my friends and helped my family.
Mm, thank you. This is a tough one, but I think it's probably something that everybody is wanting to ask, and Marcy asked it. How do you feel about White Hat? Do you wish him the death penalty?
You know, uh, um, I've been asked that so many times. I don't even think about him. Uh, I just, I'm not wasting my time. And that's one thing, like, I had the picture of my sister and I said that of me, and it said that I was, um, approaching it in a positive aspect. I realized really early on that being negative or being angry is so exhausting. Like, you go through life and you might have a fight with a family member, you might have a fight with a friend, or just like something at work or whatever. And that emotion is just so exhausting. Now, do I think you should, suppress it? No, but in my mind, I thought I just, I need the energy to move forward. And I think I just put it behind me and just don't. Now, the death penalty is a whole nother thing. It's so hard. I mean, who am I to judge someone to die, but yet he admitted he did it, and it's not like it's something that's debatable. He killed 3 people, could have been more. Um, you know, uh, Whatever happens, happens, and I'm not one to dictate how that's going to happen, but I'm living my life outside of 4 cement walls. Maybe I don't have my leg, but I have a prosthesis that allows me to do what I want. And I really don't give him a thought. Do I pay attention to everything that's going on? I do. Do I ever want him to get out? No. So I don't know. I don't know. I honestly can't even answer. I can go back and forth on that.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know.
Well, Beth, it kind of took the words out of my mouth. The answer to your question regarding White Hat is truly uplifting, and um, such an incredible way for you to deal with that. So I have a fun question I want to ask you. So
Okay.
you showed that beautiful wedding picture, and of course, the police officer and the college student and Mike, who came to your rescue, if you will. When did you and Mike? I have 2 questions. When did you and Mike realize that this was going somewhere other than, he helped you, and how did he propose?
Oh gosh. So it's not something that I ever thought of in the beginning of when. Uh, so there's some funny parts of how it happened, I guess. Number one, so many people were telling me before I even got to meet him, even because I don't remember, like I remember his shadow, so to say, but I don't remember him. And so many people, were coming to me in between me meeting him again and saying, "Oh my God, he's so cute. He's so cute. He's so cute." Been on his Facebook page. It doesn't look like he has a girlfriend. I'm like, "Oh my God, what do you guys?" My mother was saying stuff, and I'm like, "I was just blown up. What do you? I don't get what you guys are. I whatever." So that was interesting. And then there was a time when I was still in rehab, and I had seen a picture on Facebook that he was out with a bunch of my girlfriends. And I kind of got a little jealous about that. I was like, what's he doing out with them? Uh, and so, there was kind of that. But what really, I think, uh, forced it, and I don't want to say forced because that's not the right word, but I guess propelled it, is that he had offered, with his schedule being different and my family really struggling with their work and lives, that he said, when you are released from rehab, I can help take you to your doctor's appointments because my schedule is different. And so I was like, you know what? I need to take you up on it because I could see how tired my father was. If anybody knows my mom or has read the book or whatever, she is not a caregiver. She will tell you that she's not a caregiver. And it's something that we've grown up knowing and accepting. So please don't anybody be offended by that because we're not offended by it at all. And so he helped. And so we spent so much time, and he took me to all my prosthetist appointments and, meetings and then the appointments and all that. And we just kind of really grew together. And I think we were both in the car going to one of the meetings and then to lunch. And I think we were both thinking in the back of our head, like, what is this? What's going on here? Um, so then we had the talk. So yeah, it was kind of funny. But
That's awesome.
and then the proposal was just more than even if I had ever dreamt of how I wanted to be proposed to, it just all happened by coincidence. In a sense, he was going to propose. I had talked about wanting to go to the Christmas stroll in Nantucket for so long, and just timing wise and different things happening, I'd never been able to go. And then we had the opportunities, like, do you want to go? And I said yes. So I had no idea he had bought the ring. He had it with him. And the first night we're there, we only had one dog at the time. We had our dog Sal. And at the time, we brought Sal with us to Nantucket to the Christmas stroll. And when we got there Friday night, he's like, "Oh, let's go to the beach and watch the sunset." And I'm like, I don't want to walk to the beach. It's not far, but it's, my leg and getting sand in my foot and kind of jacks up the ankle and all this other stuff. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. I'm like, let's just, have a glass of wine, or let's chill for a minute, and then let's walk into town. And we did that. And we kind of bounced around. And Friday night, we ended up on a veranda at, I think it was the Nantucket Hotel, talking to these women. And I happened to get up to go to the bathroom. And a lot of conversation can happen in like 5 to 7 minutes of me going to the bathroom. And they had asked about, how we met. And he told them that he was going to propose, but I screwed him up earlier and he didn't know what he was going to do now. And one woman mentioned that she works and volunteers at the whaling museum, which I swear in another life, he was a whaler. He loves whales, totally into Moby Dick and all that, and into history. And our first weekend away, we went to Nantucket. And we had gone to the whaling museum. So it was kind of, a fond memory. And she got us up to the top, which overlooks the bay in Nantucket. It's gorgeous. And it was just beautiful out. And we could bring Sal, she said. And little did we know, she had it all planned in the sense of she had a photographer waiting there for us. And she's like, well, let's just start up here and we'll work our way down, because she was going to give us a private tour of the museum. And yeah, the rest is history. I mean, it could have been more perfect. It couldn't have been.
That's
Fairy tale.
amazing. And your beautiful eyes light up when you talk about them. So that is unbelievable. And I know we're coming close to an hour here, and I want to be respectful of everybody's time. And I want to ask you one other question, and that is, in today's world, and it's, certainly been such a crazy year for everybody, all of us on this Zoom right now. What advice would you give the caregivers that are listening to find time for themselves? And when they probably get home at night and thinking, I got to go make dinner and I got to do this and whatever. What advice would you give caregivers who have been through so much over this past year?
So I can only imagine the range of emotions that are happening, whether, it's sadness, madness, um, being overwhelmed. You need to let yourself, I guess, number one, you need to let yourself have these emotions, take the time for yourself, have these emotions, realize they're natural. We all have them. One person might be set off by something different than another, but accept those emotions, but kind of put it to the side and try to move on. And in order to do that, I'm sure, what I've had to do is set an appointment for myself, put it on my calendar, respect that appointment and hold it. And whether that appointment is you want to meditate, you want to read a book, you want to sit in silence and no one talk to you for 10 minutes, at any point of the day, but set it on your calendar, because I feel like if we have an appointment, we try to keep that appointment. And you just have to think to yourself, okay, this is an appointment. I need to stop what I'm doing, close out the computer, close out Facebook, step out of a room. If you're sitting there taking care of someone, sit in the bathroom, in a bathroom stall for 10 minutes where no one can find you or reach you. And, give yourself that time to decompress. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. It doesn't have to be yoga. If it's drawing, if it's garden work, yard work, just let yourself do it. Just set that appointment and take that time. You have to do it. I mean, and you know what? The other thing is, maybe make a list of pros and cons of, okay, what in my life is there that I can kind of take out of this equation for right now so that I can focus on myself. And that's something that I did back in 2014. I had gone back to work. I was struggling with time management and trying to figure out my new life and how to get around on a prosthetic and take advantage of different things that were being offered, knowing that they were going to expire at some point. And, the one thing that was there was a variable in one sense, but also nerve wracking in another, was work. And I knew that I couldn't quit trying to figure out learning how to use my leg. Couldn't quit how to figure out getting on in life with a prosthetic. But what I could do is leave work. And it was scary, and it's been scary, but there's tools out there, there's support out there, there's people, rely on those people. People told me, do public speaking, write a book. And I was like, what about health insurance? And for me at the time, Mass Health was huge. It helped me tremendously to bridge that time. And there are grants, there are agencies, there's things out there that can help you get through this tough time. Rely on it. Was I embarrassed to tell people I was on Mass Health? Maybe a little bit, because I knew some people were for it and some people weren't. But you know what? It helped me get through that difficult time and to make the choice to figure out my life and really kind of get me onto the road of knowing and remembering what good life I had before and trying to get to that good life again. So take the time, do what's right for you, figure out what's in your equation that you can remove and work around that. And yes, it's going to be scary, but rely on the people that are in your life or the agencies, or talk to someone. I mean, therapy is great, whether it's personal therapy through yourself, through a friend, or through a professional. There's so much out there. Just allow yourself to take advantage of it.
Well, Roseann, that is, I couldn't have asked to end it any better, because such incredible advice. And I have to tell you, your story is incredibly inspiring. It's been inspiring to me. It
Thank you.
really, honestly, I mean that. I know I'm seeing the comments on the chat board. You are an inspiration. Your way of thinking, your way of getting through difficult times, challenging times, and looking at it in such a positive, incredible, healthy way. It
Thank you.
really, it set a reset button for me. And I hope for all of you on the Zoom tonight, those of you that have given so much of yourselves throughout this entire pandemic, I really hope you feel inspired after listening to our new friend, Roseann, and her story, her insight, her laughter, her joy.
And if I could add one thing, Mel,
Please.
if anybody has any questions or wants to reach out to me, feel free. You can Google me or whatever, get my email. All my information's public. I am more than willing to respond or whatever I can do to help as much as I possibly can. I mean, I need to pay it forward as
Wow.
people had paid me.
That's incredible. And for those of you, we want to pay it forward to, in a way, other than, hopefully this is a way that we can pay it forward in thanking you for being our partners, together, caring for our residents and the seniors in Massachusetts. But the other thing we want to do is we are set aside 50 of Rosann's books, and she is going to put 50 beautiful signatures and autographs to those books. We will be getting in touch with you. So, and so the first 50 people that signed up for this great event, we will be sending you the book signed by Roseann. So we're thrilled to be able to do that. And I also want to just give you a heads up that this is a 3-part series. We are going to have in the month of April, again, continuing that take care of yourself as caregivers. We're going to have a nutritional program in April, and we're going to end the series in May with a virtual yoga class for all of you that would like to join. And Roseann, you will be part of that invite list to both
Oh,
of
thank you.
so I thank you all for taking the time out of your busy schedules. Roseann, I feel that you are a friend now. Um, and
Absolutely.
and we are thrilled to be able to share your story and inspiration with so many of the people that joined us tonight. So thank you all. And on behalf of Northbridge, I thank you very, very much. If you want to leave any information, either if you want a copy of this, if you joined late, which I know some of you did, and you'd like a copy, just put your information on the chat and we will get it to you. If there's any questions you have on any of our communities, we have 18 communities throughout New England, in Maine, in Connecticut, in New Hampshire and Massachusetts. We're here to help you and guide you if you're caring for a senior. So thank you all. Stay well. There is light at the end of the tunnel, folks. We're getting closer and closer. And Roseann, thank you. Good
Thank
night.
you all. Good night.
Good night.